Oh, great. I'm going to read you something here this morning. This is from Twitter. This is from Chris Cuthbert, our good friend Chris Cuthbert, saying that there was nothing better than Guy going end to end with the Forum crowd just roaring in anticipation. As he says, this is Chris, Rocket, Beliveau, Flower, the Habs have the best line in heaven. Hard to argue with that sentiment. And thank you so much for joining us on short notice. Of course, I always love to see me brother. I love to see you, it's just always, in these moments, look, I had to go to someone who can speak it better than anyone else. And that person on this planet is you. Looking at what Guy LaFleur was to me as a child was fear, because I grew up in Toronto and I had to watch those flying Frenchmen. And every time that blonde hair would go flying back, I just thought to myself, oh God, here it comes. It was horrifying to see those names and those uniforms to streaking. Like, there's very few that I would say. And of course, as I'm talking about this, I'm hearing Danny Gallivan, it is part of Canadian history. It is beyond just the game of hockey. It kind of is who we are. So in the passing of Guy LaFleur at the age of 70, what we lost is a little part of ourselves. It will be cherished, and we will certainly in ceremony recognize just what he meant. But boy, when you lose a great one, it's a little bit of a kick to the gut, considering Bossy just went as well.
I know.
Tough. But thanks for joining us here this morning, Liam.
Oh, Mike, my phone's been blowing up, obviously. Probably a lot of people that have any type of known affinity, affiliation, personal or professional, with the Montreal Canadiens, and in my case, it's a pretty strong one, has been contacted, and a lot of people are offering condolences. And we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming with Bossy, and it doesn't take any of the hurt away. I knew Mike as well, but not like I did Guy, and I didn't have an affinity certainly for the Islanders like I do the Montreal Canadiens. And the passing of LaFleur, in respect to Chris Cuthbert's line, I went down for the services for Richard and Beliveau. I didn't watch the start of their careers. I never saw the Rocket play. Beliveau was near the end of his career when I really have my first memories of watching the Canadiens in the mid to very late 60s. He only had a few years left. I watched Guy's entire career. I listened to his first goal scored on the radio in Los Angeles with a transistor radio under my pillow at home on the Cars Road, south of Ottawa. This one hurts, man. This one it feels like it's ripped a piece of my soul out. It's definitely a little bit of me as a hockey fan has died today with the passing of Guy. There's no question about it. I was at the Forum 344 times. 78 of those were playoff games. The first game I ever went to at the Montreal Forum, I was 15 years old, Saturday night, May 1st, 1975. Montreal beat Buffalo 7-0. Guy LaFleur had his first playoff hat trick. He scored his third goal on a delayed penalty, end to end. I had never in my life had witnessed anything like that. And over the next 9 years, as he stayed a member of the Montreal Canadiens, and certainly through the next 4, where he dominated the NHL, and I was there countless Saturday nights, including the greatest game he ever played by his own admission, Thursday, May 10th, 1979, Game 7 against the Bruins, where you just said you can hear Danny Gallivan's voice. Who among us right now can't picture LaFleur coming out rather gingerly? I mean, it's one of the most iconic phrases in hockey history. I didn't hear it for years because I was in the building. And when he scored that goal, Mike, that railing, I was there with my late father. We had standing room behind the Reds. We went in on Maisonneuve Avenue, which anybody knows in Montreal, that old man at the door opened there 30 seconds before anybody else. You went up those 2 flights of stairs to get the right behind the Reds. And when LaFleur scored to tie that game, 4-4 on that power play for too many men on the ice, as God is my witness, that railing shook. That railing shook with the noise in the Forum that night. Dick Irvin says it was a different feel when LaFleur scored compared to any other Montreal goal. And he also has always said that Rocket Richard was the greatest he ever saw play. Guy LaFleur was the greatest he ever broadcast. It's a different feel with this guy, man. And this isn't just a guy who won a cup and had a good playoff year or something. He dominated the league for 6 consecutive seasons. He took the mantle from Bobby Orr. He took the torch from Bobby Orr, and he passed it to Wayne Gretzky. But for those 6 years in particular, but throughout his career, certainly the comebacks, albeit the emotion that was mostly there for those. But those 6 years when he was dominating the league, this is what I'm feeling today. That's what I'm thinking about today.
There are those that, as long as we've done this, and sometimes you get a chance to meet a lot of great names, a lot of fantastic athletes, a lot of superlative professionals. But for some reason, when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens, when you see the iconic C, when you see the pictures from the 70s, knowing what they did, there is a godlike feeling to it. There's a respect, there's an aura, if I can put it that way. And I remember going to one of the first games at the Bell Center, and it was Montreal, it was Boston, because Sheldon Kennedy was still playing for the Boston Bruins. So I went down there, and of course I looked down and see this man with white hair sitting, looking like he was. I said, "What is it? Did someone from Windsor Castle? I mean, who is that? Is it the Prince of Monaco? Who is that?" And they're like, "Are you serious? Are you really asking?" Yeah, are you asking who that is? Okay, buddy, you got to really just, you got to get another drink, because, or maybe you've had too many, because I can't believe you just asked that, because it was like a choir of angels was singing where he was sitting. I've never, and as I walked, I couldn't go up. I didn't want to approach. I've talked to Reggie Jackson, or you talk to all the great athletes, or Joe Montana, or, go through the list of who you think is great. This was different. This is hallowed ground. And I would think that in Montreal, when you start talking about Jean Beliveau, and maybe he is unto himself, but I can't help but think that Guy LaFleur has a little bit, if not completely the same. Can you make those kinds of comparisons between those two men? Is there really a difference? Are they equal, or is that really picking at real small, detail of the career? Because I do kind of see them for me as a 58-year-old guy, see them similar.
No, I think you're hitting the nail mostly on the head. And with the news only breaking a short while ago, you can see, I'm sure, during your breaks, if you've had time, just the little bit of time you have here, because you're doing your show, but to peruse Twitter, and what a lot of the media brethren, people who and I know for a long time, some of them are actually writing that meeting Guy, when they did for the first time, whatever that occasion may have been, was like meeting a rock star.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
oh yeah. Yeah.
People are writing that. That's, I mean, I met him the first time in 84, 85 after he had retired, and he was playing for the Montreal alumni, and they came to the Earl Armstrong Arena in Ottawa. I was doing some working for a community cable TV, Cable 22, whatever it was, and I had to interview him between periods of the game on the ice while the Zamboni was going around. He was only a year retired, and it was surreal to talk to him. And I just told him at the end, when I put the microphone down and the interview was over, I said, "You should still be playing. It's ridiculous." I had the nerve to say that to him. He just smiled and skated off. Of course, never knowing within 10 or 12 years I was going to become as close a friend with him as I did, I mean, is there synergy with him and Beliveau? There certainly is, with Beliveau retiring in 71. Guy gets drafted first overall. Guy wore 4 all through his life growing up. He contemplated doing it. He went to Jean to talk to him about it, and Jean said to him, "Look, if you really want 4, you can have it. But my recommendation is you take another number and make it your own." And that's why he took 10. He was contemplating taking number 4. So there was synergy there, Mike, for sure. I don't think there's any doubt. You're also hitting the nail on the head, is that, yes, there was synergy. The other guys, the Larry Robinsons and Bob Gainey's and my favorite of all time, Yvon Cornway, are held in a different, they're rarefied air, all of them, but it won't quite be the same as Guy. And even Henri Richard wasn't the same. And Boom Boom Geoffrion wasn't the same, and Dickie Moore wasn't the same, and Doug Harvey, and so on and so on. Sir Savard, they're not the same. It really is. The Mount Rushmore in Montreal is Howie Morenz, Rocket Richard, Jean Beliveau, and Guy Lafleur. That is beyond debate. That is the Mount Rushmore of the Montreal Canadiens. And that final piece passed away today. And that's just a huge loss.
Let me ask you this. As most of us know what the tally was, we know what the X's and O's, we know what the numbers were, the staggering numbers, the historical numbers as a player. But as a person, what was he like? I didn't meet the man. I don't know a lot of people who were close enough to meet that man. And so I don't know Guy LaFleur. Who is Guy LaFleur?
Unbelievable sense of humor. Loved joking around, loved laughing, loved, I mean, he dutifully knew that the majority of the time that he had to talk either in public or even to a lot of people that he was meeting for first, second, and third times, that there had to be hockey talk. I don't think it was ever his first choice. It was never his first choice. 3-4 years ago, I guess it was, when I called him to ask him if he could agree to meet a dying man's last wish in Shawville, Quebec, named Wayne Troke, who's 71 years old, a year older than Guy today, if you can imagine. He was passing away, and his last wish was to meet Guy. He was wheelchair bound. And so I was trying to make arrangements for the family to get down to Montreal to meet Guy. So I phoned him up, and he said, do me a favor. Find out if there's a place that you can land a helicopter in Shawville. I said, what? And he said, just find out. So I phoned the family back. They ended up phoning the mayor of Shawville. Long story short, there's a guy outside of town had a Cessna on a farm field. So it was a place with coordinates you could give to Guy. And Guy said, tell the family I'm flying up. Couldn't believe it. He says to me, he says, Liam, are you going? I said, yeah, I'll take the portage across there to Renfrew, or it's one of the places across the Ottawa that way. He said, nah, meet me in Rockland. I'll fly you in. I drive to Rockland, Mike, and he told me, be there at 11:10 a.m. I said, okay, Guy. So I get there, 11:09, can hear the helicopter coming. I mean, he was right on the second. Helicopter lands. He's flying it. He had his pilot license to pilot helicopters. He's got two buddies with him. This is a $3 million helicopter. I never even been in one before. So I get in, Guy LaFleur's flying us down the Ottawa River. Like I thought we were in Vietnam at some point. You know, he's zooming in and out. We go all the way. We cut up north. We go to Shawville, circles around the farm field a couple times. Then he drops right down. He spent 90 minutes with that family. 90 minutes. And when it came time to leave, a photographer from town had come out, got wind of it, and came out, because all there was family. I told the family, don't broadcast it. We don't need 1,000 people there. So it was just family. This photographer came out. He wanted to take a picture, which meant that they wanted to get the man out of his chair, Wayne out of his chair. God love him. And he said, I can do it. And he put his hands down on the wheelchair with all the strength he had left in his body, pushed himself up. But he couldn't turn around for the picture. And before any of his family could move to grab him, Guy LaFleur went in and said, I got it. And he put his arm on the man's shoulder, picked him up, turned him around, and held him for the picture. And then turned him back around and helped him back down to his wheelchair. He did that on his time, his dime, out of the blue, came and made that man's final wish. So selfless, giving, fun-loving, character, charismatic, knew his place because that's the way it rolled in Montreal for decades. You touched on it with Beliveau. Where do you think he got it? This came right from back in the day. Richard Morenz's and Joliet's and Johnny Gagnos and Toe Blakes and Elmer Locks and Rocket Richards. And also off the ice with Tommy Gorman and Frankie Selke and then Sam Pollock. These legendary general managers, they just didn't these guys didn't fall from trees. And Guy LaFleur. So he was a tremendously fun-loving guy, and his character and his spirit to have a good time and enjoy a conversation and a glass of wine as much and talk to you about, Mike, what'd you do last night? How's your week going? You know, how are you today? It would be as much to ask him that as he would to know that you want to talk to him about his goal against Boston in '79. That's the way I could describe him.
Well, your description, your stories, I can't thank you enough. I know we have to take off here, but you're the one person who, as soon as I saw this headline, I knew I had to talk to you. You made the time for us. I can't thank you enough for that, my friend. It was very special here this morning. Not the greatest of news, but I would say in sort of a real Irish way, we have a certain way that we handle death, and that's usually to celebrate a man's life and prop him up and tell the good stories and send him off with some class and dignity and a little wink and a little smile and a couple of sips here and there. And that's what we did here this morning. It's the only way to do it, really. It's the only way I know, and no one does it better than Liam Maguire. So I thank you for that this morning, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Mike, especially today to talk about Guy. I appreciate it too as well. So thank you.
That is Liam Maguire, the one and only. Join us here as we reflect upon the life of Guy LaFleur, passing at the age of 70. It is 8:57. We do traffic one more time before we leave you, and here's Brendan.